Welcome to another Kind of Funny Reactions, this time to Invincible, Episode 6, called You Look Kinda Dead. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by Andy Cortez.
Good morning.
Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Amber deserves better.
Kevin Coelho.
This episode, you know what I mean? Woo!
Nick Scarpino.
Oh man, yeah, I'm with Kevin. I forgot about this storyline, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're in for a ride right now."
This storyline.
Amber deserves better. Like, he's trying, Blessing. He's a kid with superpowers trying to... What do you mean not hard enough? He's saved their life, and then he hasn't thought about his excuses.
Put yourself in Amber's shoes. This man
I'm not saying
every moment he gets. He's a coward.
This is a classic superhero problem. He should just reveal his identity.
Exactly.
No, he should not be dating someone in his high school. You know? He's got to, like, make...
Oh, you
like
want him to date somebody in grade school, you pervert? Get out of here, Kevin. Right. We won't stand for that on this show.
I never said that. That's not the comment that I made.
And he's right in PR mode trying to backtrack on it.
We do weekly reactions here on Kind of Funny to all the latest TV shows, including Invincible and Falcon and Winter Soldier that's going on right now. You can watch the show on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com, but we also do it as a podcast. Just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Reactions. We got a fancy new feed. It should be there ready for everybody, which I'm really excited about. So please subscribe, give us all the likes and the subscriptions and stuff, and boost the algorithm. All
5
that.
stars.
You know what to do. 5 stars,
Help
10
us
stars,
the fuck
2
out.
thumbs up, all
You
the
know?
things. Do it. Exactly.
Listen, we're all offended by what Kevin said to open this episode, but don't throw us all out with the baby in the bathwater, all right?
Don't commit to this, Greg. Don't commit to this. Walk away.
Greg, what do you think of this episode?
I had a great time. You know, similar to Nick in terms of like, oh, this is what they're doing. I was thinking, and this is not spoilers, but like this is one of the things, major plot points. This is happening out of time with the comics, where this had happened way earlier in the comics. So I was like, oh, they're just going to skip that. I didn't expect them to get back to it.
That's right. Because in the comics, he didn't go with Amber, right?
Yeah, him and William went. Yeah,
that's right. Okay.
And there was a great joke where he's like, God, this is taking forever. And William's like, this is like an hour-long drive. What are you talking about? But at this point, he had been flying so much that he was like, he used to moving at super speed. Yeah, so like when this started up, I was like, oh, it's going to be interesting to see their interpretation of it. And I thought they did a really good job of folding it into where we are in the timeline, and then also giving... to Blessing's, joke at the front, obviously, giving Mark and Amber like this episode that is about the struggle of having a secret identity, which, we really haven't seen Mark deal with too much so far. He's had these little moments, and obviously, it was 6 days of being knocked out or whatever, and Eve covering for him and the hit by the bus kind of thing. Like, you're seeing some classic, again, tropes of a Superman or a dual identity thing in here, and it's interesting to see how Mark's evolving into it. Even that idea of him sitting there on the bench and, really for a moment contemplating that real life. And I guess even in the conversation with Eve at the beginning of the episode, right, of like maybe fighting space aliens isn't in either of our future. I thought they did a good job of setting that all up. I like what they're doing. Obviously, we've enjoyed it for a while, but I really like what they're doing with Deb and Nolan and the costumer, right, of like this whole thing of like, okay, they have the costume and what does that mean, and the actual revelation and them knowing now and what are they going to do with that information.
Oh man, that shot.
Andy, this like being your first time kind of consuming this, what are your thoughts?
Another solid episode. I mean, it isn't slowing down, and it's hard to sort of pick which storyline you're interested in more. I just think they're doing a really solid job across the board. I love the what Amber's going through. I think is like, you can tell the frustration is there, and you can tell the frustration is there from both sides. Why won't he be here? Damn, I wish I could just tell her. Like, both of those sides, it's just, I love when comic book and superhero movies do that sort of thing. And yeah, the Nolan stuff, it's like, I wasn't expecting the mom to come out at the end and be like, why did you kill them? I didn't think that would happen this episode. I thought we'd keep getting this sort of slow drip of sort of hints and teases, and her kind of slowly getting more and more angry about it. But once you saw that, who knows what cup of wine that was, what number she was on. It's like, oh, she's gonna fucking, let some shit loose. And it's exciting. I every episode I keep saying, I can't wait to see what happens. And it's no less true here.
Nick, what do you think?
I'm right there with everyone. I mean, that moment where Art, I think is the Taylor's name, closes the door and he sees the reflection of Nolan behind him. I was like, oh fuck, like this is not good. And the show, the show is really, really good at creating tension and having these crazy things happen, but also having these nuanced like moments between the family members. And I think I do think this was actually but maybe one of those instances where this is better than what it was in the comic books because they're adding some more dimensions to it. I think the Amber character being around longer, because I don't remember her being that big of a character in the comic books. I think it does add a lot more drama and tension. And I do think that to Blessing's earlier point, like, yeah, I mean, like from her perspective, this kid sucks. He's not good. He's from her perspective, he's just like shirking every responsibility possible, and he's not giving her any good excuses. So I totally, I mean, the man Cecil coming in at the end and being like, "I'm pretty impressive tech," like for someone that developed in a studio or in the sewer. You're like, oh, okay, what the fuck, And this all stuff like that just gets me excited to watch the next episode for sure.
Bless, where you at?
Yeah, this is another really solid episode. It continues to do the thing of being a really good Saturday morning cartoon, but for an adult watching it, where it does do the thing where week to week it does have this storyline that is ongoing. You get to know the characters, you get to watch that relationship between Amber and Mark grow throughout the show, and all these different beats grow throughout the show. But then also you have like the really good Monster of the Week stuff, which I wasn't necessarily expecting jumping into the show. And so to see them introduce these new characters that seem really scary, that have these cool gimmicks to them, and also are casted really well. Like when the show started and it was Justin Roiland, and immediately I was like, that sounds like Morty. Like
and the burp.
Yeah, with the burp. I was like, that is super awesome. And then to get I forget who's actually casted as the villain in this episode, but I believe
Ezra
he's
Miller.
Flash. Yeah, Flash from Justice League. Yeah, I was like, dude, good for them for continuing to have a top-notch cast in this show. But yeah, really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really fun to follow, and also the whole turning humans into like these evil robots thing, fucking terrifying, and I very much appreciate it.
Kev, what'd you think?
Sorry, the dog was digging the backyard. Still is. Man, I love this storyline, and it's so messed up. And I think they did such a good job. I really like how they're making Amber way more complex as a character, and they're also using that to like dive deeper into like this kid's like a superhero, and he's got to learn how to manage these things, and it's so cool to see that, because it's like a real look into something that, like an aspect that often gets overlooked or just kind of glanced at. I still think it's a mistake. I think he shouldn't be dating someone that doesn't have superpowers. She won't get it. Also, quit school, You're not gonna keep.
Also they're
It's a
graduating
world full of
soon, and they're
superheroes. She can
diverse.
get it.
But to Kevin's point, I
but
think
that's the thing. You can't.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say you can't take that secret away once you give it to someone. And like, how long do relationships last in high school? Like, let's be realistic. These kids,
But like Amber's awesome though. I can see a future.
Yeah, Amber's great, but like the fact is that like what's his face? Mark isn't like he's. It might be Mark in the relationship, and it still needs to develop. You know what I mean? Like this relationship is not gonna last no matter what. And telling someone your secret is such a big deal. You can't there's someone walking around knowing.
Who makes it a big deal? You make it a big deal by holding it in and not telling people. Just it can be okay.
Yeah.
Not to mention, this universe is dumb as a box of rocks. They got Adam Eve running around no mask. They got Nolan running around no mask. Then they look at Eve and they look at Nolan like whatever.
People's identities are getting thrown around left and right. Also, like his friends saw that it was him. Even when he was
and
wearing
recognized
a mask.
him. Yeah, he recognized.
And like that's not gonna have repercussions. I bet
that's his friend's superpower, knowing.
Oh wow.
People,
oh shit.
I mean, it really immediately had repercussions where his friend was like, kept being like, "Hey, come help figure out where my buddy is."
But those were good repercussions, though.
No, well, but what I'm saying is like, sure, in this circumstance it was, but it's the thing that like, as soon as someone knew that he was invincible, that person was like, "Hey, help me solve this problem," right?
Yeah, that's true. But also not only that, but there was also that one comedic moment where I think they drew it out a little bit more in the comic books where William was like, "You gotta take me flying," and I could be completely wrong, but I think the last page of one of the books was like him going like, "This is amazing," and like Mark being like, "This sucks."
Yeah, 100%. They did that joke for a long time. Yeah, and then he finally gave in. Yeah.
Tim, where are you at?
I continue to love the show. I can't wait for next week. I everything you guys are saying, I'm right there with. I think the Monster of the Week stuff works so well because we know it's not just Monster of the Week. We know they're going to come back because they've proven that to us already, like every single episode. And this whole DA Sinclair storyline, having read the comics, it is terrifying, and like the way that they have shown it in this episode got me so excited. Where I was like, I love that things keep happening in the show that I'm like, I vaguely remember this and it's awesome and they're doing it so well. And it's just so exciting that this show is working as well as it is on a character level and also from just kind of the narrative slowly growing to be this world that matters so much more than just traditional superhero worlds that have moments that matter. But this feels like an ever living thing that even when we're not watching, things are happening. And when we come back, they do a good job of filling in the gaps. This episode, I want to give specific praise to the action scenes and animation of it, where this was the first time in the show that there was a couple moments during fight scenes that I was like, oh shit, like that looked really damn good. That looked really cool. There was a scene with him flying in the air and they kind of like do a suplex thing in the air. And like, I've never seen animation like that. And I was like, I love that they're able to kind of give the different teams, like Andy was talking about on the animation side, like the ability to flex muscles that we don't really see in too many shows because we just don't get cartoons that have this amount of time to flesh characters out and flesh storylines and things out. So I love it. I love the amount of A plot, B plot, C plot, D plot we get in this. Like every episode feels like it has just the right amount of progression and all the filler and all the things that we usually complain about these type of shows, animated or otherwise. I feel like this show's really kind of skirting around and finding good solutions to.
This episode of the Kind of Funny podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. A lot of us take care of our bodies, but 2020 and 2021 have been tough. So we might also want to take care of our minds. There's a misunderstanding of what therapy is. It can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be sitting around talking about your feelings. A lot of people battle with their temper or their stress is about to kill them, or they have depression, anxiety, PTSD, and the list goes on. If this is you, you can use therapy to get some tools that will make life easier. Spoilers, we film these after the show, and the second half of this show is all about mental health and work being online and the struggles and trials and tribulations that come with that. Of course, if you are ever struggling and you just need somebody to talk to, therapy is a great option for it. I've known so many people who go to therapy and have found it so helpful. Of course, Nick has before too. So BetterHelp is trying to do that for you online. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the Kind of Funny Morning Show listeners can get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/morning. That's BetterHelp.com/morning. BetterHelp.com/morning. Our next sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, is Babbel. For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point of our academic careers. Hello, my name is Greg. I took French in high school and in college and immediately forgot everything after I took the tests to get the gen ed requirements I need. And I'm like, I'll never need to learn French again. And then I fell in love with and married a woman from Quebec. And her first language is French. And her family primarily speaks French. And it's a struggle. And I wish I had done more with it. But I've been using Babbel, ladies and gentlemen. Babbel, of course, is the #1 selling language app that's addictively fun and easy to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with your family, or just have some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world. Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. The way I've been doing it, right, is that in between maybe starting a video game for the night or even when I have a downtime during the day, just popping on the couch, turning on Babbel, putting in my headphones and going. Babbel designs their courses with practical real-world conversations in mind, things you'll get to use in everyday life. Other language learning apps use AI for their lessons plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. Start your new language journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to babbel.com and use the promo code MORNING. That's BABBEL.com, code MORNING for an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life.
Blessing.
Yeah, to your point about how good the action is, the thing I really like about this show is how much it doesn't glamorize being a superhero. Because I feel like you get that out of so many other superhero focused shows. Where this one, even watching just the action, it looks like it sucks to be Invincible. He gets his ass beat so many times. Like they focus on the stuff with him and Amber, and that also sucks. And then also his dad seems to be like a villain. Like being Invincible seems to suck. And right now, the message I am getting from the show is, yeah, being a superhero isn't great. Like it is a bad time a lot of the time. And by the time you get to the end of the episode and he punches out, what's the name of the villain? DA. When he punches him, he dislocates his jaw.
Yeah.
Uh,
oh my God.
yeah,
that was the
and
most brutal thing I've seen in a cartoon. Anime, sure, but like in an American cartoon, I think it's the most graphic.
It was brutal. And it was another point in the show where by the time it's ending and you're getting the resolution, it's like everybody's beat up and tired, and it does not look like a fun time, which I think is a really, really cool thing for the show to pretty much lift up and continue to focus on.
Yeah, especially coming off of the past injuries that he was gone for 6 days and was almost comatose, it seems. Like we don't really I know that they kind of brought him out and he was really out of it or whatever, but just dealing with those injuries that he already had and then immediately back into a fight, and you can kind of see the wear and tear already on him. And he takes on the first robot or whatever, and then in the sewer there's 3 more of them, and he's just continually getting punched in the face. And you're like, Jesus Christ, as homeboy's trying to make the robot remember, hey, remember me, we had sex, you're my boyfriend, or whatever sort of thing. And the robot's just still punching him in the face. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, this guy needs a break, man.
Horrifying.
Go ahead, Tim.
Andy, you being somebody that is unfamiliar with the story completely, like I love that every episode you seem to be talking about the end of the episodes and cliffhangers a lot. Do you think that going from last week's cliffhanger or the ending of like Mark being beat the fuck to hell, and then this episode happening, did it feel satisfying to you? Did it feel like it was like answering the questions that you were looking for?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to the questions that I'm looking to get answered, that's more of on the Nolan, and what's the mom's name? I keep forgetting. Debbie. Yeah. The Nolan and Debbie side of things, I think, is where I want more answers, and I'm not mad at this slow drip of information. I think it's all just so perfectly kind of paced out, and how many more episodes do we have left? 5? Oh, 2. Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Damn, I thought this was a lot longer. Oh, no, never mind. I'm thinking of the rumors saying that it was going to cover issues 1 through 15. That's what I was thinking of.
Sounds about right for where we're at.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think every episode is doing a great job of explaining the stuff that kind of confused you the prior episode. I still want to know what the hell's going on with these clones. That's at the very, very end we get that little hint, so we'll see about that.
And what the fuck is Robot up to?
This is what I was gonna say, right? I think they're doing a really good job of spending enough time with each character that you really feel for, like, you're invested in their storylines. And I remember that being the case in the books, but I do remember the main, like, for the most part, I would say maybe 70% of every book was Mark and his story. And I think they're paying a little bit more attention and a little bit more, like, giving a little more love to, like, the storylines between the parents, Robot, I think. And I do think for this medium, it ends up being a lot more interesting. Because I remember there being, like, some bigger revelations that happen sooner in storylines. And to Greg's earlier point, like, they're mixing a lot of stuff in here and things are happening later and whatever. But I think they're doing a good job with it. I think the fact that they're choosing to kind of really flesh out that Nolan Deborah relationship is interesting.
It seems like Bless was dead on with this Robot and Monster Girl prediction. Like,
We'll see.
I mean, but he's right. I mean, the fact that they mention, Robot, you feel emotion.
Yeah, how can a robot feel emotion?
Yeah, and then we see him kind of being like, "Yeah, I was here the whole time," and longingly looking at her with his mechanical eyes.
And Samson's like, "You wouldn't fly to Antarctica for me," or whatever the hell. I like that line.
To further that prediction, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Robot somehow contacted DA, because DA is very much doing shit with, like, combining organs and tissues with robot parts. Like that seems like it's very much leading towards something, and I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but there has to be connection. It's awesome watching the show from week to week, not knowing shit about it. Like I feel like I'm in such a good place because not only do I have like those theories and those suspicions, but then also with the whole Debbie storyline between the mom and the dad, I'm terrified for the mom right now. I'm like, she is gonna get fucking murdered by Omni-Man at some point, and I'm waiting for it to happen.
I'm getting a lot of Breaking Bad vibes between Walt and I already forget her name.
That's interesting.
Skylar.
Skylar.
Skylar,
Just that back and forth and that dynamic of I know who you are now, and it's not a secret anymore. And how are we going to choose to go forward with this sort of stuff? And yeah, it's really exciting to think about.
Bless, one question for you. Originally, it sounded like you were thinking about reading the comic. Do you think that you're moving away from that now?
Yeah, like maybe because I do enjoy watching the show so much, just not knowing what's gonna happen week to week because I think it adds so much to it, and it's that weird thing of I don't know which is gonna be the better experience, reading the comic or just watching the show first and then maybe going back and reading the comic to see what those differences are. Like what I might do is finish the season and then catch up in the comics to where the season ends and then stop there. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do at this point.
That's gonna be complicated.
You're not gonna wanna do
That's
that.
gonna be complicated.
Yeah.
Well,
That goes real
also,
quick.
I mean, this is my problem, right? Is I have zero self-restraint. So, like, I wanted to finish the season and then maybe pick the comic books back up again. But I know that I'll just want to finish the run. I'll just read the whole
entire
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
It's not. There's no way I'm not going to do that again.
Also,
I'm gonna toss this crazy idea out there if you don't mind, because you know how and Tim, you watch all the papers more than I. There's still hasn't been a confirmation on season 2, right?
No, not yet.
Remember, of course, we had Robert Kirkman on the Kind of Funny podcast, so you got a crash course in how he does everything. But if you didn't know, Kirkman's the guy who obviously, ended The Walking Dead on just a random ass Comics Wednesday. You didn't see that coming. He's the guy who launched a book and had already written and you had 12 issues assembled so that there'd be no slowdown in the process. I love it's not happening, but I give it a 10% chance that they're going to end season 1 and announce they've already finished season 2 and that season 2 is in production the entire time and it'll, be out in 3 months or whatever it'll be. Because I think that's what the backbreaker for this would be for Blessing and for so many other people. You love season 1 and you're like, well, I want to read the books. I want to read the books, but I don't want to ruin the show for me. And so you get into this weird thing of, well, the show's been off air for 9 months now. Like, when do I want to go? You just give up and end up reading the books that way.
That's also just a huge problem with shows that take this long to make anyway with animated properties like this, right? Is that you can't let that much time go by. You got to rebuild that hype train. But I think in this one, it's going to end so well. And it's already so good that I think people will see it. It'll just be like a no-brainer. Got to put it right back on the queue and get right back into it.
I mean, I think the other thing is I definitely think the show's proven that it is more of a HBO style show than it is a cartoon. And so it's like, I think that it's earned its place in the like Game of Thrones type conversation, or at least hopefully by the end of the season that it will, where it's like, Game of Thrones was a series of books, but that didn't stop it from being extremely popular and, just like kind of like feeding into the hype of, people wanting to read. And so many people are like, I'm only going to read book 1 after season 1. And they kept reading or didn't read or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Their interest in the property grew, and I think that is only going to help Invincible. More people. There's not a single person that's going to read Invincible after season 1 and then be like, you know what, not going to watch the show anymore. You know what I mean? Like, even if they know what happens, they're going to be so into it.
I do think there's an important difference that Invincible is done. Like, you could read the full run, and you could never do that with Game of Thrones. Like, when Game of Thrones season 1 came out, I think you could only read up to the one less book than there's now, but that still left people with a bunch of questions, where this is like people could sit down, read it all and be like, I know all the answers,
Yeah, I think there was still 8 years of content there. It's a lot. Almost a decade. But something that I'm really, really loving about the show still, 6 episodes in, is the voice actors. Obviously, somehow I'm still being surprised by hearing Ezra Miller, and it's just like I need to stop because every time there's a new character, I should just expect it's someone dope. But also the soundtrack, man, like they just keep busting out hits where I'm just like, how the fuck did they get licensed for all of these real songs? Like, this is so cool, and I think they're really well utilized too. And I just love that they are flaunting the budget around of this being Amazon original, and they got it. They're like, you know what, we got to make this cool because we got to make this shit stick. And I think that it is really sticking with people. I saw the first take on Twitter over the weekend of somebody that watched this that thought it was bad, and I was just like, oh shit, it's been 5 weeks. This is the first take.
Episode was bad, or the music was bad.
No, the whole they don't like the show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like that's the first person in 5 weeks. That never happens with a show on Twitter now. Are you kidding me?
One quick thing we haven't talked about is where's everybody with Eve's storyline? Obviously, this is the episode that saw Eve, really commit to, I don't think I'm fighting aliens in my future, so I'm going to go off and just live in a treehouse and help deserts grow plants. Where do we come down on that blessing?
It's the storyline I care the least about currently, but I still appreciate it. Like, I think they're touching on really good things in terms of her relationship with her parents and how she's dealing with that. And I love every time she makes a door disappear or reappear, I think is a fantastic bit, and I hope they keep doing that. But yeah, no, like I think I'll care more about her storyline when they connect it back to more of the other characters, because right now it feels like she's very much segmented, and she'll appear in Mark's life, every now and then when it comes to talking
the will they won't they sort of stuff.
Yeah, the will they won't they, like when she talks to Amber and is like, hey, like he's trying his best, like those, I feel like they're dropping her in here and there, but I'm sure at some point that stuff is gonna start to clash more and more. And I'm sure, like, now that Mark is having issues with Amber, I wouldn't be surprised if Mark and Eve start to become more and more of a thing, and that's how that storyline starts to pan out.
All right, they had that hug in this episode, right, where she kind of caught her off guard when he's like, thanks.
Yeah, when he thanks her for covering for
Very
him.
similar to the hug in Incredibles 1, Nick. Had the same vibe.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Very different.
Wait, you don't
Very
think so?
No.
No, I mean
Wait,
the face
this?
the face that she made compared to
With Mirage.
the
I think she
baddie
was
from
just happy she wasn't
Incredibles
being
1.
murdered, right? Like, isn't that what Mirage's like expression is? Like, oh,
Like,
thank
oh,
God.
No way, you
This man
kidding me?
didn't kill me.
Mirage hugged Mr. Incredible like, fuck yeah, this feels great. Are you kidding me? She loved that shit.
Well, yeah. After
She wasn't getting
rewatch
hugged by
Incredibles.
Jason Lee.
I don't remember
Good
this.
movie.
real
movie.
quick,
Great movie.
I like what they're doing with Adam Eve in the sense that, like, she's like, I don't want to be part of our hero team. I don't want to be a hero on my own. I'm gonna just go and make the world better with my powers. Like, that's really cool. I feel like you don't see that a lot, and I think it's cool. Yeah.
And by the way,
I think it's cool too. I do think that the way that they're showing it in the show feels a little means to the end, and that's not necessarily a complaint. I think I'm excited to see where it's going because I don't really remember. But her in this episode did kind of feel like oh yeah, she's doing something.
Don't forget about
I wanted to get back to the other things the
don't
most,
forget
but
about her.
it wasn't bad.
But at that point, it's also, like the D story or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
total
There's
D
so
Ray
much-
story at this point. Yeah.
And I'm happy they're touching on it. I'd rather them have her in every episode instead of,
For
next
sure.
week having trying to get too much of that stuff in at once. But we won't have to wait too long for the next episode. Next week, we will be back with the penultimate episode of season 1 of Invincible. Remember, please subscribe on the podcast feeds, Kind of Funny Reactions, leave the good reviews, all that stuff. We really, really, really appreciate it. Until next time, love you guys. Bye.